Good morning, everyone. It is 11 minutes past 8 o'clock right now. Welcome back to the program. It is time to talk a little politics in a more upbeat and a more fun way. And that's why we have a couple of guests joning us in studio.
Maybe. Yes,
yeah, maybe. In studio with us, Jeff Link and Craig Robinson.
He likes to be angry sometimes.
We have a Democrat and a Republican.
That's what we're talking about.
That's true.
We separate them by a little bit of hardware, but beside that, everything else is fair game.
We're shackled to these chairs.
Now, as we reported to you right here on CW Iowa Live yesterday, a big man is making his way to town. We're talking about President Donald Trump. He's going to be
no fat jokes.
No fat jokes. What? Fat jokes? No. That's true. He might come after me. He's going to be in Dubuque on Thursday, and this is just 2 weeks after Vice President Mike Pence has been here. But they're saying this is this good timing, bad timing when a lot of farmers aren't exactly excited about all the tariffs?
Well, I think you're going to see a lot of attention in Iowa from the White House because Iowa is a state that went firmly red in the last election. Trump turned the state from a pro-Obama state to a pro-Trump state. It was one of the biggest swings in the entire country. Obama won by 6 points, Trump won by 9 points. That happened almost nowhere else in the country with such a big swing. And Trump really feels like Iowa is kind of his. And so if you look forward to the election, which is just 15 weeks away, you've got a Republican congressman in Northeast Iowa where he's going to visit on Thursday who's in deep trouble. You have David Young right here in central Iowa who's going to have a very tough race against Cindy Axne. And you've got an incumbent, well, sort of an incumbent governor, Kim Reynolds, who inherited the office from Terry Branstad after he was appointed ambassador to China. She's running for her first election and is on the ropes, right? All the sort of smart pundits in Washington have said this race has gone from a Republican race to a toss-up, just in the matter of the last few weeks. And Kim Reynolds has just gone on television this week with her first negative ad of the campaign. She's the first one to break the ice. She's attacking the challenger, which is a sign of panic for an incumbent. Like, an incumbent should want to talk about their record and the issues and stay positive. The challenger should have to be the one that goes negative first, and that has been flip-flopped in this race. So this Trump visit's really interesting. It'll be interesting to see if Kim Reynolds shows up. Trump, of course, has been popular in the state, but he's also imposed tariffs on China, which is causing huge problems for soybean farmers and for pork producers in the state. We're just on the front edge of this yet, so people aren't really feeling it in their pocketbook yet. I said, you know, soybeans are at a 10-year low in terms of prices, but a lot of farmers are not selling yet. They don't have to.
Right, they're hanging on to it.
Once they start selling, that's when the rubber's going to meet the road, because this is not going to get better in
on the
anytime
Democratic
soon.
side, you feel that he's here to help political candidates, not so much address farmers and say, this is why I'm doing this when it comes to
I think he feels like these Republicans are in shaky shape, and he's coming to bolster their
You have a little bit bigger dynamic going on too. You have 3 gubernatorial elections going on in Iowa, Illinois, and Wisconsin, and so going to Dubuque, you can kind of touch all these markets. And this is, I think, Trump. You know, the trade stuff is difficult. He has to get his side of the story out there, come to a spot where you can talk to 3 different states. I don't think this is all about Iowa. I think Iowa, like Jeff said, is very important to the Trump White House. But I do think this is more of an upper Midwest message that we're going to get on trade to kind of combat everything else that's going on. So this is the president going to make, you know, his opinions known and why he's doing what he's doing.
Do you think farmers will have an opportunity to question him while he's here?
That's going to be interesting. It's always difficult to get access to someone like the President of the United States. But what else does Trump do? Will there be any sort of smaller private gatherings where he can talk to people on a more one-on-one? Usually there's some more official visits. I don't know what this trip all entails.
You don't know the agenda yet of what's happening.
So yeah, I mean, sometimes that stuff happens and we know it after the fact. It'll be interesting to see. I hope they do. I mean, there's a pretty good relationship between the Trump White House and the Farm Bureau. And so there should, I think there should be some good communication be able to go on.
Now, has what Trump has decided to do involving the soybeans and the pork, is that starting to affect the farmers, beside the ones that are hanging on to their soybeans that we just talked about here, but has it affected the prices?
Look, this is is difficult for an ag state like Iowa to deal with. And so anytime you're going to have a trade war or really get combative with someone like China, it's going to impact food. There's no way to do it without. It's our biggest export that we do to other countries.
But is this mainly going to affect the farmers or the consumers? Because the consumers might be the benefactor if there's an excess of pork.
I think it ends up impacting everyone, and you got to look at it's going to impact your rural economy and all of that. Then that'll impact us in central Iowa too, where everything is knit together in this state. No one's too separated from agriculture when you live in a state like Iowa.
And why haven't we heard from Terry Branstad on this? Is that not his role to make a statement?
Yeah,
in a situation like
when
this?
he came back for Governor Ray's funeral, he was asked about this, and he, as you would expect, I mean, he's. The ambassador is in a position now where he has to back his president, and he did. And so I don't think we're going to learn too much more. The interesting thing about Branstad is I'm curious of what's going on, kind of the back channels between him and the Chinese, because there's a really good relationship there. And so, how long is this going to last? Is there some sort of agreement that the U.S. can come to, the Trump administration can come to with China to tamp down some of this? Because as Jeff alluded to, the longer this goes on, the bigger issue it becomes. And then, when it really starts impacting people's pocketbooks is when it really matters.
Yeah, it's going to make a difference.
And I think Craig's right. Ambassador Branstad is in a very difficult position because he's sent there by President Trump to represent President Trump.
Right.
And so he's going to fall in line. That's his job. Honestly, I think if he were still governor of Iowa, he would be a lot tougher on Trump than he is right now. Mm-hmm. And he would be a lot tougher on Trump than the current governor. Because what Kim Reynolds has basically done so far has just said, let's give him some more rope. He's a great negotiator. Let's see what happens. Well, that's turning out to be a disaster for Iowa and the Iowa ag economy.
But don't you think just having Branstad where he's at and in the position he's in, isn't he better suited to try to make some amends here and try to make it so we can get pork brought back over?
I think ordinarily you would say, yes, that's right. But with this president, I think it's entirely up to this president. It's going to be his mood when he wakes up, on what happens. There is no grand plan here. What we've done, we've gone into a trade war without an exit strategy. Can you imagine if Donald Trump or if Barack Obama or Bill Clinton, or you name a president, had gone into a war without an exit strategy? People would be going crazy. We've gone into this trade war without an exit strategy.
I'll make a prediction that I think we will see this administration move off of these policies post-election. That I think when you wake up on, the first Wednesday in November and look and see what has transpired in the election, then the Trump White House might say, maybe we need to do something differently. Because, as I mentioned, there's those three, gubernatorial races going on there. They're all held by Republicans. Mm-hmm.
And they're certainly going to lose Illinois.
Right.
They could lose here.
Iowa's
and who
tough,
knows what's going to happen in Wisconsin.
Who knows in Wisconsin. And this is, if you look at how Trump won, that's the barometer to look at. Watch those three states and how they act and how they behave. If Kim Reynolds is able to hold on and get and win election for the first time, then I think the Trump White House looks and says, oh, well, maybe we can kind of continue down this path. If there's a Democrat, if Fred Hubbell's governor, I think the whole landscape looks a little bit different.
When will we have a better idea about what's happening on Thursday? Thursday?
On Thursday, yeah. It's one of those things. Look, I've worked on some presidential visits before.
Things change up until the very last minute.
And they'll add things up, and even if you're organizing the event, they'll come in and they'll mess it all up. So.
They know when the plane will land, and they know when it'll take off, and everything else is up for grabs.
Okay, so we'll have to wait till Thursday.
You'll have to tune in.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you, gentlemen.